Welcome back to the Power and Purpose podcast. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And a few updates. We are officially in season 2. So, all that means is that I had my 1 year anniversary for this podcast on October 18th. And then I took a month break just to integrate the work, just to relax, and also upgrade my operating system, to upgrade my energy, to kind of take a step back in a very fulfilling, nourishing way and reground, right? Reground, stabilize. Also, one thing I realized for myself, and maybe someone out there can also benefit, is we are constantly evolving and growing so freaking fast. I mean, there's weeks where I look back on the previous week and I'm like, I don't know who that is. In the best way possible. So all that to say, when you feel called to take a break and step back, please do it. Chances are it's going to be productive, especially if you've already mastered consistency. I was just telling someone this in my coaching group, my mastermind, that when you build that consistency, reward yourself, take a break. You, at that point, you have done the work. You can trust yourself to pull back, rest is productive, even though we're taught to resist it. And then you can come back with some fresh ideas and fresh energy. So that's exactly what I did for this podcast, taking a break. And then, so yes, season 2 has officially started. Check out the last 2 recent episodes with the guests. There was one with Lana Manikowski, very powerful episode. We talk about redefining life with infertility. So really, really powerful for women and men to listen to, because chances are you might know someone in your life who is facing infertility. And so it's a journey. It's a journey for that person and everyone around them to navigate. So please check out that podcast episode. And also, Lana is an infertility advocate and life coach. So she has a bunch of resources for anyone in need. And then also, another recent episode was with Shannon Graham. That one is titled The World's First Space Mastermind. Phenomenal conversation. He has a mastermind where he they're preparing their first trip to space. I think he said in 2026. And it's really to, yes, for the experience, but also to change our perspective, right? So for those of us who are contributing to humanity and contributing to the world in our own unique way, we could also address the challenges and solutions and problems, if you will, with a different perspective, with those types of experiences, like being in a space mastermind and going to space and looking back at Earth and all the things. So you could imagine that's a powerful experience. Listen to that episode. We also dabble in that conversation. We do talk about AI and how that transition is coming. We talk about so many things beyond just his space program in that episode. So check that out. I believe that is episode 76. And the episode with Lana was 75. And with this refreshed energy that I'm bringing back to the Power and Purpose podcast, I'm sure you've noticed the name has changed. It's no longer the Sacred Soul podcast. It's the Power and Purpose podcast. And I'm bringing back the solo Saturday episodes. I'm bringing them back. And that's what this episode is today. This is my solo episode. And so just a reminder, my guest episodes come out every Tuesday and my solo episodes come out every Saturday. And I'll say this too, I pulled back from my Saturday episodes because I was feeling out of alignment. And I'm just saying this for the record. I don't need anyone's help or sympathy, so please don't please don't text me anything about that. Like this, I just like to inform people, like, look, this is what it is. I have things that I do to realign myself, but I'm sharing this because I have no shame in it. I'm sharing it because it's valuable for us to be just super honest about what's happening, right? So, and you guys, if you've been listening to my podcast, I crave vulnerability. Like I want my dirtiest laundry to be out there. Because I'm just tired of the BS in this world. I'm tired of the mask. I'm tired of people pretending. I'm tired of people acting like uh, like they don't have shadow aspects, right? And we all do. So anyway, before I go on that tangent and start preaching about the shadow, what I really wanted to say was that I stopped my Saturday solo episodes because I was feeling I was feeling like not yes, maybe out of alignment, but I was feeling like I wasn't putting my best work out there. Put it that way. I was feeling like I was kind of half the cuss word coming out. I don't know how else to say this without saying a cuss word. I was half-assing it in my solo episodes. So and your time is valuable. I honor the time that you invest in this podcast. So I didn't want to waste your time or mine, or even just put out information where the energetics of the information is not strong. That's my real reason. Because everything we do has a vibration. So every podcast episode I put out has a vibration of its own. And I don't want that vibration to influence people to have a unsteady vibration, or you get the gist, right? Just a vibration that's out of alignment. So here we are. Now let's get into today's episode. Today, I'm talking about the root chakra from a deep perspective. So hopefully you feel called to really stick with this episode. I'll try not to make it too long. This one's not a video episode, but there will be another video episode on some new content, a new YouTube channel that I have, and I'm this is yes, this root chakra uh portion will be in many other places. So even though you can't see visuals or things like that in this podcast, I'm just going to keep this one in podcast format. And then if you want to dive deeper, you could check it. Just look out for my other content. You'll see stuff that will say root chakra. So with the root chakra, the reason why I wanted to cover this is because one, I think people dismiss it. You know, when people start their spiritual journey, they learn about the seven chakras and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's nice. Okay, the root chakra. Okay, it's at the base of the spine. The color is red. Okay, it's about grounding and feeling secure and safe. Okay, I'm just going to do a meditation and meditate my root chakra and then I'm good." And that's not it, friend. It's not it. Our work with the root chakra needs to be very intentional and deep. And I know there's a lot of root chakra meditations out there. I know there's a lot of root chakra tools, but start with the tools and practices that actually involve the body. Okay? If you're just doing a root chakra meditation, or you're getting Reiki, or even a multidimensional energy modality like the one that I do, and someone's helping you work on your root chakra, that's great. That's a start. But if you're just sitting there receiving, that's just like a small dose of boosting your root chakra, nourishing it, stabilizing it, cleansing it, unblocking it. That's just a small dose. You really need to get into the body. And chances are, the chances are you're going to have to address trauma. You're going to have to address trauma. And that's where, people in the spiritual community can really bypass the root chakra, because they're like, "Oh, I forgive everyone. It's okay. It's all love and light, blah, 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 blah." And it's just like, it's like, okay, forgiveness is amazing when you truly arrive there. If you feel like you have to forgive, I chose acceptance, right? So, and you could say that they're one and the same, but there also is some slight nuances and differences. But to me, forgiveness, it didn't feel good. It felt like I was judging the person. And so I wanted to accept, people who were involved in my early childhood without judgment. I wanted to accept the traumatic experience without the judgment. So I chose acceptance. Okay. Now, forgiveness it may not involve judgment for you. If that doesn't resonate, you don't have to subscribe to my idea of that. Okay. So forgiveness, acceptance, addressing trauma, addressing shadow, Like, this is deep work. And this is why we start on the healing journey. Okay. Now, you're not broken. I've said this time and time again. It's not that we're not enough. It's just we need to give ourselves the support, the acknowledgement, the attention, the validation that we didn't get when we were younger, right? And it could be something super simple. Like maybe you fell down the stairs and your family kind of like laughed it off, right? Maybe they didn't really acknowledge that you were really scared for a moment and you thought that that you were close to, I don't know, breaking your back or something. So all you need in that moment, we're not, trying to saying that you're broken because you fell down the stairs. We are, we, the facilitator, someone helping you, we are just saying you just need to give yourself what you wanted in that moment. And sometimes we don't know what we needed in the moments when we were kids. So that's why the healing work is necessary, very, very necessary. And recently, my work it still includes healing, and it still includes integration. I still have healing and integration programs and energy therapy and IFS therapy. I still have all that deep work available for people. I don't really promote it as much because I'm also evolving in my work. And I feel like spirit has called me to be the person to reach the people who have done the healing work, where they're like, okay, I've done a good amount of my healing journey. I also want to start moving forward and not focusing so much on the past, right? And so that's where a lot of my work recently, if you've been following my journey, has been around astrology, human design, using astrology for career and business strategy, using astrology and human design to master the details in our life purpose. That is true expansion. That's moving forward. That's fully moving into your new narrative. But friends, you can't, I mean, you could try to go that route. I have people right now in my purpose programs, and I could see where they're getting caught. I could see where they're getting a little stuck because some of those folks need to go right back to some of the root chakra healing, or they need to go right back to looking at things earlier in their life, right? Where they got really destabilized. And it's not that they're broken or nothing, if something's wrong with them. They just need to what? Give themselves the support, the acknowledgement. It could be many different things. The validation that they needed as a child or any time in your life, right? Maybe you got divorced when you were 25 and you didn't get the support that you needed at that time. Go back to that 25-year-old who was experiencing divorce for the first time in their life and sit with her, sit with him, find out what they need from you. Okay? That is the healing work. And so back to the root chakra, again, just to kind of recap, it's yes, those meditations and the Reikis and the energy healings can help, but you need to take accountability, start moving your body. You should be working out every day. And normally I don't like to say should, but I'm actually just going to say it right now. So you should be working out. You should be moving your body, even if it's just a walk. And then yoga or something that gets your blood flowing, because the root chakra is at the base of the spine. And when we say base of the spine, that's very vague, right? So I don't know if this particular episode is good for children, but you might want to turn it down because I want to use some language to tell you where the root chakra is at. And it's at the base of the spine, in between the anus and the genitals. In between the anus and the genitals. So it's the coccyx. I can never really say that word. It's the coccyx. I think I said it right that time. And it's in between the genitals and the anus. And you could, for self-exploration, just to know where it's at, because most of us are numb there, you can, in your own time and space, you can just gently press in between that space just to feel where the base of that energy center is. It's really important because once you have an awareness of where that's at in your body, and when you're going through life and you feel that area tightening up, tensing up, kind of becoming protective, you can notice that in an instant and be like, ooh, my root is really closing up. What's going on in my environment right now? Who just walked in the door? What's happening? Right? Like you can actually have this healthy sense of survival awareness when it's needed. And then when it's not needed, you're not worried about survival, right? That's a healthy nervous system response. So that's where the root chakra is located. And nervous system issues, this is a side note. I probably can't go into this too much right now for the sake of time, but I think we have a nervous system epidemic. I think that the majority of people are trying to operate their days with a dysregulated nervous system. And anyone dealing with addiction, this is not from a judgmental place. This is from a place of compassion because I was there, right? I was addicted to caffeine, and other things at certain times in my life. I was addicted to Adderall at one point. So any type of addiction, eating disorder, overeating, it can be a root chakra problem. Under eating, root chakra problem. Any type of eating disorder, root chakra problem, because that's like our fundamental source of survival is our relationship with food. So if your relationship with food or eating is distorted in some way, or you're overcompensating or undercompensating, you want to work with that. That's a nervous system situation. Now, again, if you're not sure what the cause of it is, when you're doing your therapies or your healing, you need to go back to early childhood. The root chakra is activated from the moment that the sperm hits the egg all the way up until we're 6. Or 6 or 7, I guess that's debatable. But that time frame is when our root chakra is really getting solidified. Okay. So really, really important. I hope that this is really inspiring you to just rebuild your relationship with your root chakra. And it's an ongoing journey. You may not have to do some of the deeper healing work like earlier in life. Again, because a lot of my current audience, they've been on their healing journey for a while. They have been doing the work. And I mean, I have a mix of people watching this podcast. I know I have, people who are new on their journey and the people who have been on their journey for a while. But we all need to revisit that root chakra. Also, if you have your 40th birthday coming up, go back to the root chakra. I'm I can't go into it right now. And I'm not 40. I'm not there yet, but interestingly enough, this year I've had a certain amount of clients that have all turned 40. And in astrology, there's something happening for people, for most of us between the ages of 38 and 42. And it does involve our root chakra. And so if there's any imbalances, they're going to probably either exaggerate around the time that you're turning 40, or they might come back, right? So you really want to work with your root chakra in many different ways. And so let me give you some more information. Now I told you where the root chakra is located, right? Base of the spine, in between the anus and the genitals. So really feel into that area, sense that area. And the root chakra is associated to our adrenals. So if you're having adrenal fatigue or adrenal issues, or you're overstimulating your adrenals with like caffeine or something, that is going to directly impact your root chakra, probably in a negative way, depending on what your habit is. So just have that awareness. And if you're low on energy, if you're struggling to be energized and you're dependent on certain foods or substances for energy, again, that's a sign you need to go back to the basics, work with the root chakra. And if you don't know what to do, and you don't have any support right now, or you don't have time to reach out to anyone, or whatever your situation might be, do exercises. If you're already exercising, you're like, Vanessa, I've been exercising for 5 years and I still feel like I have root chakra problems. Okay, cool. Well, at least the exercise has probably been stabilizing you for a period of time, right? So now you just need to actually work with the energetics of your root chakra, or the life experiences again, early childhood or your adult life, maybe when you had some issues with money, destabilization, safety, any kind of safety concerns, you got to go and work with that. That's where the therapy work, hopefully an intuitive therapist like myself or someone who can merge both worlds together, or IFS therapy, is pretty powerful. So it's connected to the adrenals. Also, it's the root chakra is connected to our feet. So that's why walking is so important, keeping your feet moving. And there was a period of time where I was doing a lot of cold calling when I was in real estate, and I don't know what was going on. I think I didn't have time to walk or whatever as much as I wanted. So I had these rocks underneath my stand-up desk, and I would literally just press my feet, almost like massaging my feet on the rocks. And that really helped because, one, reflexology, we have reflexes on the bottom of our foot and our hands, and it's connected to our adrenals. It's connected to the different organs. And so, in our primal days when we were walking on the ground without shoes, we were constantly grounded. One, because we were connected to the earth, but two, because our feet were getting that different pressure, the pressure points that we were walking on the ground in rocks. It was actually activating those different areas on the bottom of our feet. So, work with your feet, work with your legs, keep everything moving. Let's see, what else can I give you? Yeah, the root chakra, it's connected to our muscles. It's connected to our hips, our bladder, the rectum, the coccyx, our general immune system, our elimination system, our adrenals, our genitals, our kidneys. Okay, so if you are having or have had any challenges with anything that I've just listed there, have the awareness that part of your vitality process, part of your healing process needs to be root chakra work. So maybe you've been having some kidney issues happening, right? So you're probably working with a doctor, or you're probably working with a nutritionist, or I don't know, maybe you're doing some kind of detox program. Great. Also pair it with some root chakra work. Okay, another example. Maybe you're dealing with some hip pain. And so maybe you're going to the chiropractor and you're doing the traditional route. Absolutely, yes. Traditional medicine, thumbs up. Great. Do what you got to do. Also, pair it with some root chakra work, right? You guys get the gist. Elimination systems. A lot of people have digestion issues. And one of my friends, Nettie, she's also been a guest on this podcast. She had a Facebook post the other day. It it said like the constipation market, like the products that they sell for constipation is like $1 billion industry or something outrageous. I can't remember the numbers, or I think like every year it's increasing by a certain dollar amount. So basically, and I don't remember the numbers. I should have screenshotted it, but that just goes to say that so many people are having issues with what? Constipation, digestion. That's a root chakra issue. It's a root chakra issue. So, and that could be psychological too. A lot of times if we're not digesting well, we've had issues with digesting emotions. We've had issues with digesting life. We've had issues with accepting things, accepting our dramas, our traumas, whatever might have happened in your life or whatever is currently happening. If you're one of those people where you are actually currently present, great. Accept everything that is happening. Doesn't mean you don't want it to change or improve. It just means you're not resisting the truth of what is the now, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So I just gave you a list of all the things that could be associated, the body functions that are directly connected to the root chakra. So really important things. And so I'll probably do another podcast on the root chakra because it's so important. And again, I feel like, people learn about the chakra system and they're like, oh yeah, I get it. And they intellectually just understand the energy centers, but they don't really embody what it means to balance out your energy centers, to cleanse your energy centers, to really work with your energy centers. yet so many so many of us are dealing with root chakra problems and blocks. And I think it's pretty obvious, when someone has a fear of being seen, right? Issues with security, issues with safety. When someone's having issues with money, right? Or their money in their business, or maybe they're making a lot of money and they're still having issues with money, like spending, things like that. That was my problem for a while, making a lot of money, and it was just like falling through my hands like water. Root chakra issue. So, and we can, and not in a judgmental way, but just observe the world around you, because you can see how our root chakra health impacts our personal lives, but also the collective. When you start realigning and nurturing your root chakra and cleansing it out from distortions, fears, insecurities, past situations, blocks, all the things, limitation, you're helping yourself, and you're also vibrating a healthy, secure root chakra that is highly contagious. And other people will either feel inspired by you, or you will activate them in some type of way to where now they are working through some root chakra issues. And you don't have to do this as a healer. You could do this, as Joe and Jane in accounting, right? And your exuding a strong, healthy, balanced root chakra system, and the people in the team meeting feel that from you, and they're inspired to also feel secure and safe, and work out, and I don't know, do therapy, whatever they need to do for themselves. Okay, so now I'm going to shift, and I want to connect this to astrology, because astrology is huge. It's huge in my work right now. This is how we could really anchor in our life purpose. This is how we could anchor in our highest career opportunities. I have a brand new boot camp, Astro Aligned. I forgot the name because I just I just changed the name. It's Astro Aligned Business Boot Camp. Astro Align Business Boot Camp. It starts in January. You can actually join now for the early bird pricing. What is it? It's a boot camp based on the guidance that you need based on your astrology and your human design. Okay, so there's a link for that in the description. Just go to the website. It's pretty self-explanatory. Book a consultation call with me. See if it's in alignment for you. Whether you have a business already, we could do rebranding and really get you set up on a strong foundation for next year. Or even if your business is in the baby stages, it will also be helpful. If you're just starting out, it's better to get this going now instead of getting wrapped up in some kind of general coaching where you're getting cookie cutter advice on how to run a business. And that may not be in alignment with your energy. Okay. Your astrology chart and your human design chart is going to tell you what is going to help you best, right? The highest probability of you having success and fulfillment with less resistance. And we're all so different. Okay. So now in this episode, now I'm going to go through how our astrology chart connects to the root chakra. The planets associated with the root chakra is first Saturn. That one comes first. And then once you work through your Saturn placement with the root chakra in relation to the root chakra, then you could work on your Mars placement. And so I'm going to go through the signs here. If you know where your Saturn is, so if you have your natal birth chart, you can look to see where your Saturn placement is. You can look to see what sign it's in, and it also will be in a house. Okay. And I'm probably speaking to the people who know this already. If you don't know much about this, don't worry about it. Just sign up for my free 15-minute career and life purpose astrology and human design. I'll look at your Saturn and your Mars for you in relation to your root chakra. I'll just give you what you need to know. I don't want you to have to worry. If you're not familiar with the birth chart already, I don't want you to have to kind of figure out where that is, because that could just take up time. And if you're not familiar with it already, that's just an extra task, right? So sign up for my free 15-minute session and say, hey, I listened to your podcast about the root chakra and I want to look at my Saturn and Mars placement. And I'll be like, okay, great, let's do that. That's a great thing for the 15-minute call. So for everyone else, Look at your Saturn placement. What sign is it in and what house? Okay. If your Saturn is in Aries or the first house, if your Saturn is in Aries or the first house, you need to build courage, right? Courage is how you work through your root chakra challenges or blocks. And also paired with that is disciplined action. Disciplined action, and that will lead to you having more independence in your life when you have Saturn in Aries or Saturn in the first house. Okay. So, what can you be disciplined about? Is it working out for you? Is it waking up a little earlier? Is it going to bed a little earlier? Where can you activate that discipline in your life? And then also really work with the courage thing. I have come up with your own courage formula. Come up with your own courage formula. If you don't know what that is, hit me up on Instagram. We'll talk about it. Next one, if your Saturn is in Taurus or the second house, you need to focus on financial stability and material resources, right? And that's how you will cultivate self-worth and steady energy. So really focus on your financial goals. It doesn't mean that you have to have a big financial goal. Just have a goal. Like just know where you're currently at and know where you what do you want to maintain for your finances. And you could also have a big goal too. That's totally fine. But just don't ignore. I see this a lot. If someone has Saturn in Taurus, or if they have Saturn in the second house, and if they're having root chakra issues, typically I can notice some type of disassociation from their financial goals or their financial spending or whatever it is. So really work with those energies there. If you have Saturn in Taurus or if you have Saturn in the second house. All right, next is Saturn in Gemini, or if you have Saturn in the third house. So if you have Saturn in Gemini or Saturn in the third house, my voice almost went out there for a second. So you need to learn how to communicate your needs. Learn how to communicate your needs, your wants, like speak up for yourself, right? And it doesn't have to be in a irresponsible way. It could be in a very responsible, calculated way as well, very calm way. But make sure you are communicating your needs for security. So I was trying to think of an example. I think the easiest example is sometimes you know how people don't speak up when they're too hot or they're too cold, right? So if you're like in a conference room and everyone's freezing or you're freezing and it's just too cold, speak up. Speak up. Like, hey, I'm feeling really cold. Can we boost that AC so it's not so low? Like that's an example of really speaking up for your needs, right? So really practice that. Um, let's see. And that will help you just create mental stability and focus. Because if you have Saturn in the third house or Saturn in Gemini, chances are your mental stability can feel very fragile at times. So first step is you have to communicate. Use your throat chakra. That's what this is about. For anyone with Saturn here in Gemini, your root chakra is, for all of us, it's directly connected, but your root chakra and your throat chakra is even more important, the collaboration and the relationship between the two for anyone with Saturn here in the third house or Saturn in Gemini. All right. The next one is Saturn in Cancer or Saturn in the fourth house. Saturn in Cancer or Saturn in the fourth house. When you have it here, really work on your family dynamics. What fears are happening around family, if any? You might need to work through ancestral challenges, issues, problems. You might need to break the cycle, right? Maybe you're in a certain cycle. Like for me, I think prostitution was a cycle on my mom's side, on my in my mom's side of the lineage. I think it dated back so far, so long. And myself and someone else in my family, we were assigned to break that cycle of prostitution. So whatever, and I don't have Saturn in the fourth house or in Cancer. I have a lot of other crazy stuff like Pluto and things happening in the fourth house. But again, back to the example, work with family stuff. Have you inherited family challenges or issues and you need to break the cycle? You need to be like, you know what? This stops with me. So find out what that is. If it's not that, if you don't feel like that resonates with you, you could also just focus on creating safety in your home. Are you living in the right environment right now? If you have Saturn in Cancer, again, or Saturn in the fourth house, are you living in the right environment? Do you have roommates that you feel comfortable with? Or do you have a house that feels safe? Inside and also outside. The neighborhood needs to be safe as well. When I was in real estate, people would buy these these brand new houses like in a neighborhood that had a lot of crime. you know that's just kind of how gentrification was happening in LA. And I could tell that later on people somewhat regretted that, because even though they felt safe inside the home, they didn't feel safe inside the neighborhood. So there was still some imbalance there. So that's just an example. So really work on that if you have Cancer, or excuse me, if you have Saturn in Cancer or Saturn in the fourth house. One last thing, emotional stability is going to be really important for you. So have a practice that cultivates that emotional stability. It doesn't have to be meditation, but it could be. It could also be exercise. It could also be humming in the shower. It could be almost anything, but just make sure you know what it is so that you could utilize it when you need. All right, next, moving along, is Saturn in Leo or Saturn in the fifth house. Saturn in Leo or Saturn in the fifth house. For you, you need to find stability within your self-expression and your personal power. Okay? Express yourself. As hard as it might be, whether it's mentally hard, physically hard, spiritually hard, whatever it is, just sit with that challenge and navigate through it with grace and ease. Find a safe container to self-express first. So if that's just reading your poetry to only your partner, because you only feel safe with your partner, do that before you start to go, do poetry on like in an open mic situation. But start somewhere. Self-expression, personal power. And then later can come creativity and build discipline with being creative. That will certainly help you really activate that root chakra. Okay, so that's for Leo in fifth house. If you have Saturn in Leo or if you have Saturn in the fifth house. Next is Virgo. If you have Saturn in Virgo or Saturn in the sixth house, grounding through routines is so important. You should be doing the same morning routine as much as possible until you absolutely get bored with it, and then switch it up and do another routine that you can commit to. But you should be doing the same routine over and over and over and over again, because it's just going to make your life so automatic, right? And so if you have Saturn here, you really need to ground yourself through your morning routine, nightly routine, whatever it is, and have your health practices. You should definitely be working out and prioritize your health. If you have Saturn here, nothing else in the world matters until I mean, obviously if you have a small child or a newborn or something like that, yeah, maybe you do need to wake up and feed them before you feed yourself. But for the rest of us, maybe your kids are grown, or maybe you don't have kids, and all your other responsibilities it would be okay if they came later, then yes, you need to wake up and just focus on you. Absolutely. Okay. Because that's going to help you heal any kind of anxiety or health issues that can stem from root chakra imbalances. All right, next, if your Saturn is in Libra or in the seventh house, Saturn in Libra or the seventh house, Your relationships and partnerships are very, very important. And you need to find balance in between independence and connection, right? So, isolating yourself from your relationships is probably not balanced, and then being completely codependent on your relationships is not balanced. So find some type of synergy. Find some type of synergy between the two, and make sure your relationships are stable and like there's some trust there, right? So make sure you don't have anyone who is really erratic. And it's not like you have to cut, if you do have someone who's really erratic or they're going through a certain time in their life, it's not like you have to cut them off, but just have discernment when you're interacting with that person, because your root chakra connection is deeply tied in with your relationships and your partnerships that you have. So find people who are grounding, you know. Anything else I want to say on that? No, I feel like that's complete. Okay, next one is Scorpio, 8th house. If you have Saturn in Scorpio or Saturn in the 8th house, confronting grief is really powerful. This is a powerful way for you to reclaim your root chakra energy, and reclaim that stability, that safety, that security, that support within. And we can grieve, you know, almost any type of change is grief, because because it just is, you know, when we change is hard. We all know that change is hard. And sometimes, you know, even though we might want to move to a new state or a new country, it's change. And so you might be grieving who you were in another state or in another country. When you release relationships, when you separate from your husband or wife, or when you take a break from a parent relationship, and when you decide, okay, I'm going to take a year break from my relationship with my parent, there might be some grief there, even though you're doing it deliberately and intentionally. Just work through any feelings of grief if you have Saturn in Scorpio or Saturn in the 8th house. And then also you'll find grounding when you do deep emotional work. So if you have Saturn in the 8th house, IFS therapy was probably made for you. Okay. I do IFS therapy. Or if you have someone that you like already, that's a great tool for you if you have that placement. Also, other deep emotional work like breath work, powerful, 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 powerful. I'm trying to think of other emotional techniques. Even EFT tapping would be great here as well. Okay. Next, if you have Saturn in Sagittarius or Saturn in the 9th house, building security through belief systems and exploration is really important. So your beliefs are everything. So you need to know what they are. You have to know what your beliefs are. A lot of people are not aware of limiting beliefs that are secretly running their lives. You know, so Joe Dispenza has an exercise. Actually, for anyone who has Saturn here, if you have Saturn in Sagittarius or Saturn in the 9th house, Joe Dispenza's work in general will be helpful for you. And then also he has an exercise where you write down all your beliefs on the left side of the paper, and on the right side of the paper, you reframe those beliefs into a higher belief system, something that's more expansive, something that's more positive, more abundant. So you're changing all of your beliefs that could be weighing you down. Okay. So that's just one example of how to work with this placement. You need to if you don't do the Joe Dispenza exercise, just know what your beliefs are. And if you have any limiting beliefs, work through them. Read a book that will help you with that specific limiting belief. Do something to really help you break through that barrier. And then also traveling can help, you know, for someone who has Saturn in the 9th house. It's tricky because if you have Saturn in the 9th house, traveling can feel like, you know, you might be like, every time I travel, my flight gets delayed. I forgot my wallet, like my bag got lost. You might have, like, you might be the person that might have traveling challenges from, from time to time. But also if you have Saturn here, then that's just what happens with the energy here sometimes, not all the time. But traveling can help you really explore your belief systems and really expand your belief systems. And traveling to different places, you'll start to rewrite what you thought was possible. Okay. And that will directly impact your stability, your safety, security, and your support in the world, your root chakra. All right, we're almost to the end of the list. 3 more. When you have Saturn in Capricorn or Saturn in the 10th house, I see this a lot. Recently, I've had so many clients with Saturn in the 10th house or Saturn in Capricorn. And, responsibility is number one. So, are you being responsible? I know that's a silly question, but journal about it. And it's not about judging yourself. You might need to find out, where am I not being responsible? Right? And I don't know if disassociation is the direct opposite of responsibility, but in my day-to-day experience when I'm helping people or supporting people, if they're not being responsible with something, chances are there might be some disassociation that's kind of like in the way, right? That they need to address. And then also, understanding what your goals are. If you have Saturn in Capricorn or Saturn in the 10th house, understand, what are your goals with your career? And if you're not someone who has an active career, like maybe you're retired, maybe you're just choosing not to work, what are your goals for life? What are your goals for your I don't, your public image, or just who you are, your identity, right? Understand what your goals are and how can you achieve it? How can you achieve it? All right, so Saturn in Aquarius or Saturn in the 11th house. So for you, creating stability with community can be really, really helpful. Having a community that is nourishing, supportive. You don't have to over rely on community, but a part of your root chakra healing journey will be community, right? Regardless of what's in your past. And not to say that you can't work one-on-one with someone. Absolutely. Because I mean, you have so much more going on in your chart than besides just a Saturn placement. Okay. But community is really, really important. I did Fit for Service. That's a spiritual community and led by Aubrey Marcus. And you don't have to be in a certain location. People join from all over, and there's different retreats every year. For me, I'm not as active in it as I used to be, but for me, that was, and do I have, yep. Wait, do I have Saturn and Aquarius? No, I have Saturn and Uranus together. It's not directly in Aquarius, but anyway, I almost got sidetracked. But yes, community, it was supportive for me because yes, I could see how some of the indirect placements in my chart. But yes, community will support you in feeling supported, grounded, safe, secure, all the things. So find a community to be a part of. And then also, if you have Saturn here in Aquarius or in the 11th house, balance grounded action with technology, balance out grounded action with anything that you're innovating, with anything that you're bringing to the market. Make sure you have a grounded approach. So really working with your root chakra there. All right, last one. If you have Saturn in Pisces or Saturn in the 12th house. Saturn in Pisces or Saturn in the 12th house. What's the best way to describe this one?